morning. Thanks, you guys. I'm so excited to be here with you today. So for those who don't know, today is World Down Syndrome Day. And my friend Denise asked me to tell you a little bit about it and then to read you a book. So this is a picture. A Down syndrome footprint is typically used to tell all about people who rock an extra chromosome. Maybe you're lucky enough to go to school with someone who has Down syndrome, but if not, they're, hashtag more alike than different. They're just like you and me. They just happen to have an extra chromosome. And so today is a day that we celebrate people who rock that extra chromosome because they're super awesome and it makes super awesome friends. Anyway, we have a thing called Down Country, and right now we're collecting artwork. So if you are at home, I think most of us are, then we would love it. We will send you canvas, we will send you paper. You can draw, you can paint, you can do whatever you want because we're collecting all kinds of artwork from now until September 14th. And we're super excited about that, so we'd love to have you help us out. Anyway, if you need paper, you need canvas, let us know. Your parents can learn more by going to upatdowncountry.com. If people are looking for a super awesome comic book about a superhero with Down syndrome, I recommend Metaphase. It is great, and the gentleman wrote it for his kiddo with Down syndrome. But today, sorry guys, I am gonna read a book that I read to my little boy when he was very first born. Elliot had to have open heart surgery. And I was just in awe. I thought, my gosh, how cool is it that they can go in, because he had a little hole in his heart. And they went in and they fixed it all up. So anyway, the book I'm choosing for today is Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are? And it's by Dr. Seuss, and it's my absolute favorite book. And I actually think it's really important for all of us to think about that right now, how very, very lucky we all are. And you can tell I've read it a lot, because see how worn it is? Anyway, did I ever tell you how lucky you are? When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. He sat in a terribly prickly place, but he sang with a sunny, sweet smile on his face. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, oh, ever so much more, oh, muchly, much, much more unlucky than you. Be glad you don't work on the Bungle Bum Bridge that they're building across Beaver Bay at Bum Ridge. It's a troublesome world, and all the people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful a whole heap and lot for the places and people you're lucky you're not. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazette and got caught in that traffic on Zate Highway 8. Whew. Or just suppose you lived in Gazette with your bedroom up here and your bathroom up there. Oh my gosh. Just suppose you were poor Herbie Hart, who has taken his thrombed deambulator apart. He will never get it together, I'm sure. He will never know if the gick or the gore fits in the scrux or the snux or the snore. Yes, ducky, you're lucky you're not Herbie Hart, who has taken his thrombed deambulator apart. Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Allie Sard. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard, and it's quick-growing grass, and it grows as he mows it, and the faster he mows it, the faster he grows it. And all that his stingy old uncle will pay for shoving that mower around in that hay is the piffless pay of 2 duklas a day. And Allie can't live on such piffless pay, so he has to paint flagpoles on Sundays and grooves. How lucky you are you don't live in his shoes. And poor Mr. Bix, every morning at 6, poor Mr. Bix has his Borfin to fix. It doesn't seem fair, it doesn't seem right, but his Borfin just seems to go schlump every night. It schlumps in a heap, sadly needing repair. Bix figures it's due to the local night air. It takes him all day to unschlump it, and then the night air comes back and it schlumps once again. So don't you feel blue, don't get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a Borfin that schlumps. Whoop. And while we are at it, consider the slots, the crumple-horn, web-footed, green-bearded slots whose tail is entailed with unsolvable knots. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I'll eat my umbrella. That's just what I'll do. And you're lucky indeed you don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a whammel. And a whammel, you know, is a sort of a saddle held on by a button that's known as a faddle. And boy, if your old whammel faddle gets loose, I'm telling you, ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T-crosser, I-dotter, he has to cross T's and he has to dot I's in an INT factory out in Van Nuys. Oh, the jobs people work out west, near Hotch Hotch, there's a Hotch Hotcher bee watcher. His job is to watch, to keep open his eyes on the lazy town bee. A bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and he watched, but in spite of his watch, that bee didn't work any harder, not much. So then somebody said, or old bee watching man, just isn't bee watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another Hotch Hotcher. The thing we need is a bee watcher. Well, the bee watcher watched the bee watcher. He didn't watch well, so another Hotch Hotcher had to come as a bee watcher. And today all the Hotchers who live in Hotch Hotch are watching on watching the watcher who's watching that bee. Whew, you're not a Hotch Watcher. You're lucky, you see. And how fortunate you're not Professor DeBreeze, who spent the past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks how to read Javanese. And think of the poor puffing Pugelhorn players who have to parade down the Pugelhorn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Puboken. It's awful how often their pugels get broken. Oh, and just suppose you were poor Harry Hatto. Try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something's wrong with his giz, and perhaps that by golly, I think there probably is. And the brothers Bazoo, the poor brothers Bazoo, suppose your hair grew like theirs happened to do. You think you're unlucky? I'm telling you, ducky, some people are muchly, oh, ever so muchly more unlucky than you. And suppose that you lived in that forest in France where the average young person just hasn't a chance to escape from the perilous pants-eating plants. But your pants are safe, you're a fortunate guy. You ought to be shouting, how lucky am I? And speaking of plants, you should be greatly gladish. You're not Farmer Falkenberg's 17th radish. And you're so lucky you're not Gucky Gown, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town in the ruins of Ronk. Ronk is rather run down. And you're so lucky you're not a left sock left behind by mistake in the caverns of Croc. Thank goodness for all of the things you are not. Thank goodness you're not something someone forgot and left all alone in some punkerish place, like a rusty tin coat hanger hanging in place. That's why I say, ducky, don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much, oh, ever so much, so muchly, much more unlucky than you. Thank you guys for letting me read to you today. I hope you celebrate World Down Syndrome Day and everybody realizes how incredibly lucky we are. Have a great day. Bye.